Great.
Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm your host, Jeff Howard, and apparently this podcast is a long time coming because I've got Regina Pigsley with me. Hey, Regina.
Hi, Jeff. Good to see you.
Great to see you. So if we sound familiar, it's because Regina is a two-time champion. You brought your film, The Phoenix, to the Sherman Oaks Film Festival in 2022. And we are going in order, chronological order of times I've met you. So in November of 2022, The Phoenix won you the Grand Jury Award for Outstanding Director of a Drama. And your film won the Audience Award for Best Short Film Drama. And honestly, Phoenix will always be like one of the best films that we've shown. Like, I was literally able to say to my wife this morning, I'm going to get to talk to the director of The Phoenix today. And she's like, oh my God, I love The Phoenix. And that was 2 years ago. So that's the greatest endorsement I can give. But then 6 months later, you brought your film. You had taken a film from your college days and tightened it up and got it to a point that you were happy with it. And so you brought that short film, Matched, to Film Invasion Los Angeles in 2023, where you became another Audience Award winner. So there you go, 2 award-winning films. You did 2 festivals in a row that I program. I still use the term program, even though everyone says festival runner these days. And we were sure that we'd done a podcast before.
Yeah, absolutely positive.
I was positive too, but I cannot find it. I cannot find any evidence of it. So instead of the amusing thing was I was telling myself this morning, well, since Regina and I already covered her life story, I'll ask her more questions about what it was like to move to LA and get her career started. But I can't find any evidence of a life story type podcast. Oh, but wait, before I jump into that, do you want to tell people if and where they can watch The Phoenix and Matched?
Yes. We are actually still doing some final tweaks to The Phoenix, actually. We have an animator from Disney that is doing some more fluid animation to The Phoenix, which we're super excited about. So we actually have 1 shot left. And once that is set, we are going to find a forever platform for it. But you can always reach out to me by my website and by my email, reginapigsley.com, and I'm happy to send a screener link of that, of both The Phoenix or Matched.
Excellent. And I'm happy for you at reginapigsley.com. There's benefits to having an unusual name, I guess.
Yes, exactly. It's not.
Needless to say, jeffhoward.com was taken long before I could grab it. I did manage to grab .me, so that's good. Not that I want people don't need to go to my website. All it does is refer to other ones. But anyway, reginapigsley.com, they can find you. Excellent. Both films are superb. Like I said, memorable for years after.
Awesome intro. Yes, thank you so much.
And instead of bringing my previous knowledge of you from our other conversations, because we've done a couple Q&As at festivals and just chatted. The other reason I think you've done podcasts is because you have come to the house to pick up your trophies.
Yes.
And then we chat. So maybe that's what's getting me.
Maybe. Or what was there, a Q&A, virtual Q&A or something?
We could have done, you know what? We were doing virtual Q&As. I mean, The Phoenix showed in the festival.
Yes,
in the theater, but that was when people could do a virtual Q&A as well as a theater Q&A if they wanted to.
Yeah, because I think we had a virtual screening as well. Like, people could go in person or virtual.
Yeah, because that was, 2022 was actually,
It must be that.
Wait, did we get back in the theater? Well, maybe 2021 we got back in the theater, but hybrid was still...
Yeah, people were still
doing it. It was the
hybrid
norm for a while. Actually, this year, I haven't done any virtual Q&As, although some people have now asked, but I'm like, just come to the festival. Just come to the festival.
Yeah,
I mean, if you live in Europe, believe it or not, Sherman Oaks Film Festival that happens in 1 month. Uh, People are coming from Germany and the UK and
Oh,
Singapore.
great. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Quite the
no pressure, no pressure to
international.
put on a good event.
Yeah. Well, you always do, so it won't be too hard.
Yeah, much appreciated. All right, so that's our preamble.
Great.
Time for time for the question I already warned you about that we kick
Hmm.
off all, I always say that people making indie films are the salt of the earth to me. I mean, it's it's a always a passion project. It's, no one makes an indie short because they're like, I'm going to make this indie short. Then I'll buy one of those big houses.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a labor of love. It's a passion. Hopefully, it's investment in one's own future. But
Yes.
but people who are sure of the results are a little kooky. You really have to do it from your heart, right?
Yes, you do.
And so I appreciate that there's people creating art from their hearts. That's so great. So, how did you get started on as a writer and a director? What were your early inspirations? Did you get pulled in very young?
Well, I didn't know what filmmaking really was until college, to be honest. I dabbled in some film classes in high school, but it never really seemed like a career choice. But I dabbled in a lot of creative stuff growing up, whether that was music or dance or creative writing, not screenwriting, but short stories and whatnot. And when I did find film, that combined everything that I loved into one because I could be part of each of the process of the writing, of the blocking people, which is like dance choreography. I also tend to love adding martial arts into my films, which you see in Matched in the fight scene. And so I choreograph that. I have a background in music as well. So working with the composers to create these soundtracks are really fun. And actually, I sing on both soundtracks. And it really does combine all the creative things that I've dabbled in into one medium. And, my passion also is just getting to know people and being able to tell stories and traveling and getting to know cultures and showing people that we're not so different from one another. I mean, I think media is a perfect way to shine a light into other people's lives. So those two main things of wanting to create film for change while also being just so fun with doing all the things that I already love was a perfect recipe. So when I started making, a couple films in high school, it was fun, but didn't never really thought it was a career. And I got to college and I joined a film society, which was Delta Kappa Alpha. It's this professional film fraternity that basically teaches you everything that you need to know about film, which was extremely important because I didn't really go to a film school. They had a couple film classes. I went to UC Berkeley, but it was very focused on theory and less so about production. So I really leaned on my community of people to make these stories and be scrappy and see what you could do with what little you had. And, you're talking about being indie. That's super indie. You're just trying to shoestring everything together and everyone's a part of it. And that was just so beautiful. And I love the people that participate in it who love different things, who want to do different things every day, who can't do the same thing every day of their life. And that's why filmmaking is beautiful too, because it is always something different. You're always problem solving. And I really thrive in that kind of environment. I love it. I love it so much.
All right, so I'm going to jump backwards a lot because
Yes.
you just gave me so many wonderful nuggets. All right, so
Yeah,
first, my understanding is you grew up in the Bay Area?
I did. I grew up an hour north of San Francisco in Santa Rosa. It's quite a small town that grew big but didn't understand that it grew big. So it has some really good small town vibes, but does provide a lot of opportunity, which was fantastic for me.
Right. And that would probably help explain why like filmmaking didn't seem like a thing when you were young, because people who grow up in more urban centers, particularly LA, New York, Chicago, whatever. Like, yeah, there's more media hitting you, right? Like you,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas you were in Santa Rosa, so that's pretty
Yep.
removed from even the scene of the Bay Area that might be
Super
industry
removed.
related.
Yeah, it's actually funny. In LA, you're like, oh, it's an hour away. Yeah, it's like East Side, West Side, whatever. But in Santa Rosa, when you were driving an hour to go to San Francisco, that was a trip. You were preparing for a trip. So it definitely was a different mindset and different lifestyle living in Santa Rosa and growing up in Santa Rosa.
Absolutely. But you were a creative kid, obviously, because I think I
Mhm.
picked up that besides you probably were writing short stories and things, and it sounded like there was dance and singing and performance too.
Yep, that's right. I did so many things. It was every single day I had something. Monday might have been piano, Tuesday was songwriting class. I did a long stint of martial arts. So yeah, I did 2 years full-time martial arts. Like that's kind of all I did. And yeah, theater. Yeah, I have dabbled in acting, and I love it as well. And I feel like that's what makes me a good director because I understand what it's like to be an actor and can speak the language. Um, yeah,
But you were
singing.
it sounds like you had a creative drive from the
Yes,
get-go, and
definitely.
nicely it was nurtured.
Yes, yes. My parents were very, very supportive of all the arts and all the sports that I wanted to pursue, and I'm very grateful for that. All the lessons.
Excellent. And yeah, I gotta admit, thumbs up to the martial arts thing. It's whether it's martial arts or ballet, I think that kind of experience adds in so much, right? Discipline and technique and that kind of early education really sets people up for success, I think, especially in the creative arts where, I don't mean to be rude to other careers, but I there's a lot more self-discipline needed to make a film on your own than there is to, get a job as a CPA. You know what can I say?
Yes, I definitely appreciate the mental discipline and the resilience that those things taught me because, oh man, like you're going to get so many no's and you're going to have to keep pushing forward and forward with indie filmmaking. And yeah, I learned a lot of that through mental discipline, through martial arts.
Excellent. And that explains, well, it doesn't totally explain. So wait, were you a fan of film as a kid? Were you playing DVDs on repeat and whatnot?
I didn't I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of TV or movies. I would dabble, but I was I studied so hard, and so I wasn't allowed to watch things
Right. So
until
you
I
were a
got home.
student too. You were like a
Oh
driven
yeah.
student.
Oh yes. It was very much a brainiac. I love it. I always had my nose in a book. One of my friend's stories of me is when she first met me, had like a dictionary open on my desk. She's like, "What is this doing?" And I'm like, "I'm just reading the dictionary." And she was like, "What? That's crazy." I think I never got past the B's though, so it was just high hopes. So yeah, so I didn't watch a lot of movies or TV, but when I did get my hands on a DVD, I would watch that movie and then I would reach watch it with the commentary and I would watch all the bonus features. And my mom, she doesn't care about any of that. She always was confused why I was doing that. But I was just so enraptured by how the magic happens, and I was so intrigued. But again, never knowing that it could be a career, but it fascinated me and I loved it and I wanted to know more.
You've reminded me just how many people get inspired by behind the scenes type footage. And is that
Hmm.
something we've lost with streaming? Like it
Yeah.
used to be natural, right, for a young person to see behind the scenes stuff and see how not exactly how it's made, but definitely get a feel for what's involved.
Yes, I miss it. And I mean, I know House of the Dragon did another small series of behind the scenes, which is good to see, but I don't know if people even do commentaries
Yeah,
anymore.
and it's not like you when you first hit pop it in or whatever, when you first bring it up, it's not like you're shown like, okay, when you finish this film, you can, yeah, sometimes there's like a making of, but it's honestly,
Yeah.
it's more like an ad than an explainer.
Yeah. I miss it. I think it was huge in my interest in film.
Agreed. Agreed. I'll share. Mine was a Criterion laser disc a friend had of The Graduate, where some film professor went through The Graduate scene by scene, talking about the filmmaking. And I saw
Wow.
that in high school, blew my mind. Go figure.
Yeah.
Go
Oh
figure.
my gosh, I bet those had some great nuggets in it.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, talk about a film. So you get to Berkeley, and
Yes.
film just becomes your I mean, the fraternity in a way it was like a film club.
Yes, it was. So we made films every semester. We learned about filmmaking and the industry. Um, and they had put on events. They had a film festival as well for students. We had a production company also that I was running. So we would do videos for other organizations on campus. So that was a way to dip your toes into the commercial side of filmmaking and I guess see that side where it's not all indie filmmaking and narratives, but you can do media to make money or to make content for other people, which is also can be very fun. But it also is you start to have that client relationship and that kind of battle for creativity as well. So, which is super important for actually working in the industry after university. It's great practice. Yeah, it was great. It was a great
Did you all
experience.
feel a little? I'm projecting onto you now. Did you feel a little
Mhm.
punk rock though, doing like doing a film production thing on your own, separate from an academic program, sort of in addition to like the academic film studies thing, which my university also was way more theory than practical. But like, were you just kind of go, hey, we don't have to go to. You're allowed to curse on this podcast, by the way. I
Okay,
don't know if
great.
I've heard you curse ever, but I was about to say, put into your mouths of your group. We don't have to go to fucking UCLA to make films. We can do them here at Berkeley. We're just going to be a little more punk about it and do it on our own.
Yeah, I feel like we went, "Ah, fine, you're not giving us this equipment. I guess we'll do it ourselves." And you pull up your pants straps and like you just gotta do it. And then you kind of bang your head against a wall a couple times, but you're just like, all right, let's just do it. And so maybe feeling less cool about it, but more like, well, we're just gonna do it anyway.
Just going to do it.
Whether you like it or not, you can't stop us. So
And you happen to live in the era where a computer with video editing on it was not an unattainable thing, and even right, and smartphones got good. Like you didn't
Yep. Yep.
like although based on the work I've seen, sounds like you did shoot higher than that.
Yes, we did shoot more than iPhones. So a lot of Berkeley is sometimes there are some resources. It's not easy to access. So, like for example, you just have to be super pushy, I want to say. So if one person gets into the production class that has some access to gear, you kind of try to find a way, like, okay, how can we use this gear, or like who knows who to get other gear type of things. So we were super scrappy in our networking and our ability to negotiate to get access to some good gear and some good locations and stuff like that. And I mean, I love the Berkeley professors. They did an incredible job, especially with the production classes that they did give us. And the theory is so helpful. But they're not given enough resources from Berkeley to expand that program enough or accept enough students to their classes. The people that do take their classes love them and adore them, and I still speak to my professor to them. But yeah, but it's hard. It's hard to get into them, and it's for the demand that that they are wanted. So you basically need to major in film to be able to access those classes.
And it does sound like the scrappiness required or the persistency required
Mhm.
sounds like good training for the
Exactly. It's
real
a real
world.
world training.
And by the way,
It was,
I forgot to mention in your intro, we are on Zoom. So every once in a while one might hear a pause or something. That's just Zoom being a little laggy. If
hmm hmm
our apologies, don't blame us. Blame Zoom. You know, we're not it's our best choice, I think.
hmm
All right, so while you're at Berkeley, is your major the film studies or was it something else while you were there?
Yes. So it ended up being film and media, but there was a course offered that I could build my own major, which was super exciting. I was going to study essentially how mainstream films, blockbuster films, affect cultures, especially in different countries. Because I love indie films, I love documentaries. They say so I mean, they just give the information that is so needed. Um, but I love the blockbuster type films, and I have been really influenced by them. And sometimes I do feel like documentaries can be an echo chamber. The people that are watching documentaries are likely the people who are interested in that subject, anyways. So I was very much interested in how mainstream media that become international can shape international opinion and culture and just hobbies and whatnot. And is it for the better? Is it for the worst? I interned at production company in Denmark that produced the film The Act of Killing, and that's about the Indonesian genocide. And that's a super interesting documentary. But a lot of those people that were committing those crimes, they were taking they essentially felt like they were mafia people, and they loved those movies and wanted to be those American gangsters. And so in that case, it wasn't so positive, but I mean, there's so many other cases that it is so positive, and like it is women seeing women on screen doing incredible things when maybe they can't in their countries. And I love that. You know, when I saw Wonder Woman live action, those fight scenes were bringing tears to my eyes because those are so beautiful. And you know, Mulan, even as an animated film, is just so inspiring to me to this day. And so that's what I really wanted to study. But I mean, if I can curse on here, I can like badmouth this guy, right? So, but yeah, no, they ended up taking away this creative thesis that they were going to allow me to do that year. And he was like, this professor was saying, yeah, like you can do the creative thesis as long as you do the documentary on me. And I was like, who are you? um, and so I was like, no, 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 but you can hire, you know, our production company that was part of the film fraternity. And so at least I got them that gig. But I unfortunately was unable to do that major. But I still was able to study film and media with an international focus and take a lot of different classes around different films from around the world.
That I mean, that you made so many wonderful points there, and you also made me aware. I'm going to give you a compliment before we even get to talking about the films, which is your films do have that international feel based upon something that I always like to observe, which is if I were to watch Matched or The Phoenix sound off, I would still completely understand the stories, right?
Mm,
Like they're very visual, but there's action. But I bet you could show The Phoenix to anyone who speaks any language, and even if they didn't understand the words said, they know exactly what that young person's going through. They know what the parents are going through. They know what's happening. So that's that's impressive if you ask me.
thank you. I appreciate that. I try.
And it sounds like you have an eye to that because you're aware of how film affects people around the world and what it can show and teach.
Yeah, I think that might be a little bit more subconscious because when I don't tend to think about the audience necessarily when I am directing to that extent, or like who's receiving it. I of course like have people watch it and make sure it's like paced well. Um, but I don't know if yeah, when I am making it, I try to be very authentic to my feelings. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah. So
never
it's really
will.
your instincts. Your
Yes, yes,
instincts
yes.
are very visual and about the messages you were talking about
Totally. Yes.
because you love to watch a woman kick ass, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Heck yeah. I will add, I was one of those people who wept at one when I went to see Wonder Woman. I mean,
Yes.
I believe our kid, she was 10, and I wept because, and to the to the credit of what society was by 2017, she didn't understand why I was affected. She was like, "Well," I'm like, "You don't get it. That's a female superhero kicking ass." And
Hmm.
she's like, "What are you talking about? Like, I've been watching
Of
women
course
kick
she is.
ass.
Like,
I've seen all this stuff. Like, well, you know." I mean,
yes.
the first presidential election she was aware of, we almost got Hillary. Like, she's just like, your old world ways don't make any sense.
Yeah.
But
Oh, that's beautiful.
yeah, it is. It is nice, right?
Yeah,
It is
and we
nice.
want that. You know, we don't want her to be like, yes, like, oh, like anything that I do is special because I'm a woman. It's like, no, this is the norm, you know?
It's the norm. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, hopefully someday that'll be the norm everywhere. Yeah.
exactly.
Needless to say, she
Exactly.
lives in a, she's not aware of the little Los Angeles bubble she's in.
Yeah. She doesn't need to yet. She will.
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully she
Yeah.
won't find,
Yeah.
ever end up, so, yeah, in Indonesia and have no rights.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Sorry, Indonesia, but,
Yeah. I
um,
think it's better now, but yeah. They went
but
through a rough
but
time.
while you were in school, did you make up your mind that on graduation you were driving south and giving the entertainment biz a go?
I definitely decided to give the entertainment biz a go. But I stayed in the Bay Area and I worked yeah, I PA'd a lot. I PA'd on a lot of different shows. And essentially I had PA'd for this company that is LA based and did really well. The producer um, looked at my work and started mentoring me, and we stayed in touch. And essentially, when everything shut down, and he was then looking for a remote worker, he called me up, and I was hired as a production coordinator for the company. They did a lot of live stuff, you know, because it was pandemic and it was live only. And so I worked with them throughout the pandemic. And when things started opening up, they moved me down to LA because I kept having to drive back and forth and I wasn't allowed to take the plane. And so it was quite a trek. So that's how I ended up in LA and working my way up from, yeah, PAing to production coordinating to coordinating producing, associate producing, and just, yeah, fast tracking that almost because of just like the reps it took with it being very intense in the live stream sphere. It was every waking moment. Basically, it was so busy.
Are you the generation that got robbed of a graduation ceremony because of the pandemic?
I
Or
just made it. I
you
just
did the year before?
Yeah. So I graduated in 2019.
Oh, phew, I'm so glad. I've
I know. Graduated in 2019, and I got to PA a bit in person,
right,
and then
and so
get a
the Bay
job.
Area and college pulled you an hour south into the Bay Area where way more happens.
Exactly. Yes. So
Yeah.
I was going all over the place, you know, PAing in San Francisco, in Oakland, everywhere in the Bay. And I PA'd on 13 Reasons Why as well, that actually shot in Santa Rosa in my hometown. So I went back up for that for a little bit. And then, yeah, yeah. So it was great, great experience.
Excellent. So it was really the job opportunity brought you down.
Yes, I always knew that I wanted to go to LA, but I wanted to have a job essentially, or a safety blanket, not just go and not know anybody or have any opportunities there. So it was just a perfect storm, really. It was an ideal scenario. Yeah, come here. We're going to help you move, and you have a job. So, like,
Yeah,
great.
and that was when things shifted from a remote to in person again.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So what was that like? Was it did you feel like you hit the ground running?
Yeah, that company was super, super busy, and it was cool because we went from live streaming people like Diplo, just DJs from their living rooms, and they're tech testing themselves and stuff. And you're asking Selena Gomez, can you just move that light this way a little bit? Because she doesn't have anyone else with her. We're in the pandemic. To big in-person huge festivals. So we were doing Outside Lands, Life is Beautiful, Bonnaroo, EDC, and that was a great change to actually go to these places and be there in person and feel the music. That scalability was huge and really, really incredible, and a great, great experience to expand so fast like that.
Wow. Wow. And so when did you write The Phoenix?
I wrote it during the pandemic. Um, in 2020, I believe. I think I wrote it in January or something like that, or in a span of, yeah, 3 months around that time. And yes, so when we filmed The Phoenix, we were still wearing masks. It was just when we were allowed to, but you still needed to have vaccinations and stuff like that. But I think I had moved to LA just before filming. Yeah. And my
So
producers
you
were like,
and you were
what?
working the job, but you had your creative pursuits on
Yes.
on not on a back burner, so to speak, but on a burner that
I
close
was
to the
burning the
front.
candle from both ends. I was doing my job during the business hours, which usually went later than 5 p.m. And then I would jump on calls for producing, for casting, yeah, loads of things. Yeah, we went through so many actors, so many callbacks, and I mean, just loads to do during pre-production. So it was almost every night. It was a pandemic because I didn't have any other plans, so I really could dedicate all that time.
And did the job was obviously more film education, right? More production education. So
Yes.
I'm assuming The Phoenix came out so well because besides what you learned in at the time at school, all of a sudden you had a year plus of practical experience working on all
Yeah.
kinds of things.
Yes. I would say it was still during the pandemic time. So at that point, I wasn't really able to get on set for a lot of things. So it not necessarily was helpful in the production sense. But the logistics sense and the business side of things were great. But I mean, live, so it was a lot of live, and live is very different from film, I would say. So they do have some overlap, but I think I would say a lot in producing and getting shit done versus like direct, uh, I don't know, direct film, narrative filmmaking knowledge type of thing.
For
Yeah.
sure, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, because you were so driven that you didn't wait till you had a year of practical
Yeah.
stuff under your belt. You were running with it. Right. And we all
So,
got vaccinated. Yeah, by mid 2021 people were vaccinated and so that's when you could shoot.
yep. Yep. Exactly. It was, yeah, again, the like, okay, let's pull up our bootstraps and let's just do it.
And did you pull by then did you have an LA group of people to pull from or were you asking friends from Berkeley, "Hey, come down this weekend. Crash on my couch and help make this film."
So we actually filmed up in the Bay in Arnold, California. And it was a lot of Bay Area people. I had just moved down to LA when we filmed The Phoenix. So actually my producers were pissed and they were like, what do you mean you moved down to LA? We shoot in 2 months or something. And so I had to travel back up to that. But yes, so essentially a lot of my college friends or friends that I had made PAing in the industry, they were working on it. But I mean, LA is still great. When our camera package fell through, I made some calls in LA and as did a Hail Mary and got a camera package that I brought up from LA. So those connections are great as well.
Right. So the Phoenix production was literally you moved during,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
why it was grounded. But that's great that it was grounded in the Bay Area where you had a network good to go.
Yes, and it really did feel like summer camp. We got Airbnbs for everybody. I think we were on site for a week. We had a few days of shooting with Audrina, the young Charlie, and then we had a full day of aging up the place. And so if people weren't aging up the place, all of them just hung out and played D&D or like went for a hike in the woods and stuff. And so it really did feel like a family. Feel like a lot of people do say like films and crews are like family, but this one was the most family oriented I've ever felt, and everyone was so on board and just lovely, lovely people. I don't know if I'll ever have an experience like that again with those filmmakers.
There is something so special about that group of people with a common cause being isolated geographically together, right? Then you really see great things happen, I think.
Yes, yes, it was incredible. And everybody was excited. It was a perfect time to do it with restrictions opening up and people wanted to get involved. And yeah, I mean, essentially everybody was volunteers on that project. So we were all throwing down just like the good old days.
And I assume that your friends from the Berkeley film fraternity were, forgive the term, stoked that one of their own was making a film post graduating.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, definitely. And we had so many people from there on the film as well. And yeah, I still work with people from Berkeley and from DK. So yes, they were stoked. They were just so stoked to have that
It
again.
was wait Bay Area term. It was hella good.
It was hella good.
Hella.
They
um,
were hella stoked.
did you inspire other people to move down? Like, did you form a beachhead and then a couple followed?
Definitely, I feel like my best friend, we have this joke because so I was living with them in the Bay Area and I moved down to LA. And then she shortly after moved down to LA, which was great because she's my editor. And so we were doing sessions together in person. But yeah, so I have this joke because I do travel a lot with her boyfriend. And I'm like, oh yeah, so I'm going to England now, so just get ready to move to England so we can all be together always. But I mean, aside from that, I think there was already a migration of us. People moved to LA before me as well. Some people moved immediately to LA after school instead of staying in the Bay. So I wouldn't say I was the first one to do that by any means. Just one in a long line of migration naturally as filmmakers to LA.
And I have to give a shout out to your editor. Remind me her name. I'm sorry.
Danielle.
Danielle, because she is wonderful and always comes out to support and actually will attend lots of screenings.
Yes.
Talk about a film lover, a
Oh
wonderful
yeah.
person.
Oh, she's amazing. And she loves you. She's always like, Jeff is so sweet. Like he's the most down to earth festival director. Like, yeah, so let's go support Jeff and like love to see him. Yeah, it's
Well,
great.
that's nice. You know, if she let her know anytime she wants. I don't. The funny thing is, your email's in our database. I don't think
Mm,
hers is, so it's not like she gets invites to mixers and but she can have
okay,
a.
I'll send it to
I
you. Yeah.
mean, she can have a free pass to any festival. She loves.
Yeah.
We love butts in the seats. Well,
Oh yes.
we care
Oh yeah.
more about people supporting films than you know
Exactly.
buying tickets.
Exactly.
But
Yeah. I'll
neither.
I'll send you her email. We'll get her on the list.
Yeah, she should be on the list. And I know she's not because she would have been at mixers.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, bravo, that's cool, and I guess I don't know this. I sometimes I shift into parental mode, but it always shows like when somebody has quality friends, like quality people have quality people as friends,
Hmm.
right? So there
Oh
you go.
yeah.
All right. So you two worked on that, and then you got inspired to dive back. Well, you were working full time in
Yeah.
LA.
Yes.
Phoenix had quite the festival run, right?
Yes, it did. Yeah, it did. It ended up screening at 36 festivals. We just had another recent one, funny enough.
36.
Yeah.
And did you make it out to 10, 15 of them or more?
Uh yeah, I would say I probably attended at least half, but we try to get a representative at most of them. So if I didn't, Danielle or Melody or Jack, so like one of the producers or Danielle probably ended up making it to most of them. Like between all of us, we covered, I want to say at least 80% of them. Yeah.
Wow, that's
I'm not,
dedication.
I know, I'm not sure. I know, I spent a lot of time. Yeah.
A lot of road
Uh,
trips.
a lot of road trips. Yeah, we try to do them selectively so that it was either drivable, attainable, in our hometown. So Melody lives or grew up in Chicago, so we did a few of those and she was able to see family at the same time. Because yeah, again, we know like with the festivals too, butts and seats are very important and we it's just so much better when you can be there and speak to people during the festival. So yeah, we wanted to represent we did our best.
Yeah, and hopefully
Sometimes,
you made
yeah,
connections and met people for future collaborations and things. I mean, it's
100%.
a vibrant creative community out there.
It is. It is. And yeah, I'm actually in Egypt right now, and Egypt is so random, right? But have a local friend here that I met at a film festival. And so the world just seems so much smaller because of that.
Wait a minute, you're in Egypt right now? Are you in
Yes.
Cairo or
Yes, I'm in Cairo. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna curse
Um,
again? Holy fuck.
I
Here I am,
know.
assuming that we're chatting and we're both like in the LA area, but right now you are calling in from Egypt. Holy crap.
Yes, yes. I think there was an option to do this in person, or maybe it was something
Yeah,
else. I
yeah,
don't
there
know.
you could choose, but
Okay, yeah. But this is why I'm doing it remotely. Otherwise, I would have loved to see you in person. Yeah.
wow. Well, I'll tell you my Egypt story when we're not recording, because
Okay, sounds good.
it's very entertaining, but I don't need to entertain anyone. This is about you. So I was setting up the question or ready to
Mhm.
ask. So what was it that great festival experience that made you think about revisiting Matched?
Um, yes, but also, uh, I just love to finish things, and it has been just like on my to-do list for ages to fix certain things about it, and I just never was happy with it. I knew it could be better, and I know, as an artist, you're always like, oh, well, it can't always be better. But at this time, I was like, no, like there are just major things that could be better. And it's just kind of, I didn't feel comfortable showing the version that it was at to people. And there wasn't original music or anything in it. So I feel like the goal was always to make it original as possible to then show at a few festivals at least, or at least put a stamp of approval that it's done. I've done everything that I could within reason to make this good. So essentially, I did a version for class and I showed that. But I had an actual, and I edited that version. I think it was a requirement for class. And I don't ever want to do that again. So thank God for Danielle. Um, but actually, when I was in Copenhagen, I met this editor who I was working with who really wanted to do an action film. And I was like, well, I have an action film that's like really rough right now. And he was like, yeah, let me take a look. And he worked some magic on it. He worked magic on the pacing. He worked magic on the fight scenes because they weren't super trained in martial. One of them was, but the other one wasn't so much. And he was doing all sorts of push-ins and push-outs, and the editing was great. I got a composer on board to just make all the music originals instead of like Call Me by Blondie that I had in there type of thing. And sound design, which is so important for fight scenes. So that wasn't in the original version at all. So it was those major points that needed to be fixed. And so it was always in the works, but just took so much time because it was on the back burner. The Phoenix was better. The Phoenix was my new baby, and but that one was always this like chip thing on my shoulder that was like, finish me, finish me. And so, yeah, so essentially I finally, and with the experience of getting the Phoenix done as well and going through that whole process of sound design and composing and everything, that knowledge helped me greatly to finish Matched. Because at that point in my life, not enough experience or resources to fully, or time to fully see it to fruition. So finally pushed it through, finally felt, yeah. I mean, it completely transformed. I mean, I love it. Like now I'm so proud of what I did with what I had at that time, with my knowledge at that time, with my resources at that time. I'm so proud of how that turned out. And yeah, so, and especially the credits. I love the credits so much. That song that we composed, John Jeffrey killed it, and the artist.
Yeah, and the credits are fully animated, right?
Yeah, so I have one designer that did the art, and then I had another animator come in and do the graphic elements of it. So we had some really, really cool artists collaborating together to make those credits. And yeah, they're badass, and I love them.
So cool. I mean, I feel like joking with you, although I'm not joking. I'm not joking that you couldn't. It sounds like it was more than you wanted to finish it. It kind of sounded like you had to.
Oh yeah, it was
Like
haunting.
once you start something, you just can't leave it. You can't abandon it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I couldn't abandon it. It felt like I was quitting if I was gonna like let it go, and I just couldn't do that. I had to finish. So yeah, I finally checked that off the list, and yeah, and was very selective with the festival process. Yeah, I knew I couldn't do a whole festival circuit like I did with the Phoenix. I couldn't do the whole tour, didn't have enough time, didn't have enough money, got other projects on the books. But I was like, no, there's a couple film festivals that I love, including yours. I'm gonna submit there and give it its glory on the big screen. And it felt so amazing to see it on the big screen. So thank you so much for that opportunity.
Was that a premiere?
I think it was. I think it was the
It
premiere.
might have been. You might. I almost
Maybe
have a
not.
memory of. By the way, I shouldn't give this away, but most of your friends are going to listen to this. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I know there are other filmmakers who do, but yeah, was it like you sent me an email that said like, "Hey, I can't remember.
I can't remember.
I can't remember if I gave you favoritism or not. To be honest, not favoritism, selecting it, favoritism, like submitting it or like."
Yeah, I might
Like
have
you
gone
might have
to alumni
shown it,
discount code
and
or
I said,
something, but
I don't know. I could, I could,
I'm
I
not
could look
sure.
it up and see if you had a waiver or not.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
yeah, now that you say that, I kind of remember it was almost like you got the DCP done just in time and stuff. Like it wasn't,
oh, that's definitely possible. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, which would tend to indicate it was.
Yes, I remember. No, yeah, my friend helped me out with the DCP. I was like, hey, like, really need a DCP. He's like,
For sure, for sure. Never easy to do those things.
no.
All right, so since then, are
Hmm.
you this whole time, since 2000, while you're making films, while you're working, are you writing outlines in your spare time? Are you writing story treatments? Are you always
Yeah.
keeping that going?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm always writing. I'm have a few features that I am working on depending on my mood. Almost like when I'm reading books, I always have this nonfiction, I always have this fiction, I always have this fantasy thing. It just depends on what is inspiring me in the moment. So I have a few features. I'm trying to then get those finished so that I can pitch that, because that's every indie filmmaker's dream, is a feature land. But my next project is another short that I'm directing actually this month, at the end of this month. It's a Christmas story, which is so amazing and warm. It's called The Carolers. It is about these young boys who go carol singing to try and raise money to buy one of the members a guitar. And in their shenanigans, they get into some trouble and they run into a Scrooge-like person, and they need to learn what the true meaning of Christmas is. And I did not write this one, but it is an incredible story, and I work very closely with the writer, and we're producing it together. And it's actually my partner who wrote it. So, yeah, we have talked about this project for a long time, and I'm very excited to be filming it. We're filming in the UK, and we're asking everybody to decorate their houses a little bit early for Christmas and really bringing the community together. We've already got press for it. It's a really, I'm very, very excited for it.
Wow, you are thoroughly international.
Yes.
and,
Yes.
and at a fairly young age. So I was going to ask, so how'd you come across the script? So your partner wrote it, and then you
Yes.
said, and you just said, I want to make this.
Well, so he was telling me stories about his life growing up. And he told me the story about how him and his friends went carol singing and shenanigans ensued. And I went, that's really interesting, actually. Like, that's hilarious. And also, it has a perspective shift in it as well. And so I felt like that was the depth that it needed to. So it had the coming of age comedy elements like Stand By Me does, but it has a Love Actually perspective shift in it. And combining those two was really, really interesting to me. And so I really encouraged him to write it. It was his first time writing a script. And yeah, he did great. And we've worked on the revisions together and getting it to the right length and whatnot. Yeah, so I would say very closely involved in the process, but not penning things down and letting him tell his story as it happened. So yeah, it's been a really good experience to see it come to life from literally just a story that he was telling me.
Right. So this went from an oral tradition, like the old days,
Yep.
to page to screen, or well, it will get to screen soon. I'm
Yes.
curious, how did it end up being planned to be shot in the UK?
So my partner is British, and we actually want to shoot it in the same place that it happened and that he grew up. And I mean, honestly, like, just the community response that we've had for it is amazing. You would never get that in LA. People would be like, I don't want you to film here. Where's your permit? Where's your money? All these things. And we're having so many people offering to decorate their houses, so many people that want to be in it. Just having people excited about it, excited to have a bit of Hollywood come to their town is beautiful. And, you know, telling these stories are really lovely. These children that we've cast in it are so good. And there is so much talent there that largely goes unseen because, kind of like a small town, there are less opportunities. But maybe if some kind of similar to when I grew up, and, you know, when you see that it's possible and that inspires people to do so, we hope that that does the same and people can have the tools to be able to tell their own stories as well.
So you're making one of those beloved small town or village, British village films. It's funny because I have friends who live in a small British village, like half an hour north of Brighton. And and when I visited them, they're like, we're taking you to Brighton. We want you to see. I'm like, what are you talking about? I want to be in the small village. I want to be in the small town like I see in all these amazing British movies that is nothing but charm. And there's like one or two pubs and, you know, there's like.
Well, actually, yes.
Or is it a slightly bigger town?
It's slightly bigger, and actually, the town has lost a lot of its arts and luster. So we came back, when we visited, it seemed like a ghost town, and it was really really sad. Phil, my partner, was saying, "Yeah, like this business used to be here, this business used to be here," and that it is pretty heartbreaking. And Phil really wants to bring more life into it and bring more excitement into it. And I think it's partly trying to revive that as well, revive the arts, revive the energy of the place. And yeah, hopefully it can do that or bring people together at least for a short amount of time for this project.
Well, it sounds like you're going to have an amazing experience because everyone I talk to who shoots in a small town, whether it's in the United States, in another state, and yes, the stories of I've had people tell me that like they went to a bar and said, "Hey, can we shoot our film here, like in Idaho?" And the people said, "Well, can we watch you work, or do we have to stay away?" Like it was like you said, it wasn't how much you
Yeah.
gonna pay me, how much, I want money for the location. I want you to
Yeah.
pay my staff to be your extras. No, it was, can we watch?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It goes back to why you do filmmaking in the first place, for community and for the art. It's not for the money.
Absolutely.
It would be
Absolutely.
great to survive. It would be great to have enough money to like do the film, but when you reach those bare minimum things, you hope that it's about the art.
And in the meantime, you did mention that you're writing features and you've got the that as a goal.
Yes, exactly. And I have seen how amazing the networking is at these film festivals, and so hopefully at the back end, during the festival season of the Carolers, that's when I will have the script ready and pitching, 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 getting it off the ground.
I have to say, as a festival runner, when I see, you know, I think the numbers, like we get around 800 plus films per festival, and we end up showing, 50 or 60 at the festival, so less than 10%. But man, the ratio of high quality features,
Yeah.
it's it just, man, people who make a great indie feature they have climbed Everest, if you ask me. It's just
Oh
an
yeah.
amazing achievement. But
Uh,
every festival we find a handful. It's such a relief.
that's amazing. Yeah, there's hope.
And if you know how to do it, if you do it the right way, and it
Yeah.
sounds like, well, are you going to keep? This is a loaded question, but I guess what I'm about to ask is, will this be the last short, or will you just see how it plays out? Like, are you determined? Okay, after this short, it's a feature or bust, or will you just see what strikes
Well,
you?
I already have this one that I want to do, another short, but it's a 1 day, maybe even less page thing that I think I could just, again, scrappily put it together with some friends. And so I do want to do that one for sure. But this is, I think, the last big one that I do that's more full scale crew, pull out the stops before the feature. Yeah. I mean, I love shorts. I love the medium, but I just can't base a career or make a living off of it. So hopefully Featureland will be soon.
You're telling me I'm always trying to come up with a way to help the world of shorts because they're just so
Yes,
wonderful. They're just so
they
good.
are. They're so
They really
good.
are. All right. Well, so is there anything else you want to mention? Anything else going on? You enjoying? Well, I didn't even ask. Did work pull you out to Egypt?
Yes. So when I'm not doing film, I work for World Central Kitchen. I think I've told you about this before. So
I
I'm
don't know if you
working.
did, but they're
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes. Yeah. So they're a nonprofit that feeds people in disaster zones. So yeah, I'm working out of Egypt currently. I've been doing a month on, month off stint. So yeah, it's funny because every month off, I go and I actually produce a short, and then I come back to Egypt and yeah, do my thing here. So yeah, it's been very much both worlds, which has,
I mean, I
even
think
going back to my major is like very much connecting it all.
to my lazy old brain, that organization you're working for, I guess maybe you did tell me, but they're like Doctors Without Borders for food.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I think I told you when I was in Morocco because I think I missed something at like a networking event or something, and he
Did I give me? Well, actually, now you're in Egypt, but apparently everywhere
Yeah.
you go, you see people that look like me, basically. Like
Yes,
when I was
yeah,
in
that's what you told
Morocco,
me.
guys
Yeah.
were coming up to me on the street, tapping their faces, going, "Where are you from? Where are you from?" Like you look like me. And
Yes.
I'm always,
Like
I
I
just tell
remember
them,
that. Yeah.
Mediterranean. All our
Uh-huh.
DNA got
Yep.
shared. What
Yeah.
can I say? Everyone hopped
Yeah.
on boats and tried to conquer their neighbors.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very
Well, at least you
ugly
can walk through the
history.
bazaars, maybe get less cackled at, but yeah.
I do, but then as soon as you can't fake the language, they
Right. Then they're like, okay,
any
okay.
shot of a bargain is gone.
Yeah.
But you could
Yeah.
probably fit in Egypt.
Yeah.
Because Egypt had got so much Greek back in the
Yes.
day that not
Yeah,
everyone there. There's different complexions. It's not a
definitely.
it is
Well, one of
not
the Egypt Air hostesses thought that I was Egyptian. So I was like, oh, okay, great. Yeah, that's a new one. I feel like I get that nationality anywhere I go usually. So
wherever
not
you
bad.
go, you're considered a local.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like when I was working in Hawaii, they thought I was Hawaiian, which does make sense because there's a lot of Asian in there, and I am half Chinese ethnically. So yeah, and when I'm in China, they know I'm mixed, but they know that I'm Chinese. But yeah, so it's, I get Latina a lot. So I don't know. I guess I just blend.
It is a thing, right? That's
Yeah.
holy. I I don't even want to mention the fact that we are speaking on election day, but there is a thing for
Yeah.
people who are multicultural and it was funny. Now I always use the term mixed race because my friend whose kids, I mean, they're in their 20s now, but like they used to put their hand up in class and go, "I'm biracial." But I would say, but we got rid of bi because it's not a binary world. There's way too many cultures. But yeah,
Yeah.
anytime someone is mixed, I think you realize that human beings are all mixed, and like everyone is
Yeah.
like an eighth cousin to everyone else. And like once you're kind of mixed heritage like us, like you can fit in anywhere. Although I definitely could not fit in Beijing, but
They would be nice to you though.
would they be nice to me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They definitely would.
Excellent. Well,
And
people are nice
Beijing is very
everywhere,
multicultural.
except
Yeah.
maybe our homeland. But
Yeah. It seems like our homeland. I mean, you find all sorts of people everywhere.
there
You
are
can always.
kind people here,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I mean, I always share that like when, in Europe and elsewhere in like Istanbul and Morocco, like people believe in hospitality. They're like, you are this it's like you're visiting my home and I want to make sure you go tell people I have a lovely home. And that's how they
Yeah.
feel about their country. And, you know, what can I
Yes.
say? Sometimes I get it. We don't have those traditions.
No. And especially in LA, LA can be isolating as well. We're very far away from each other. There's not good public transportation.
There's not
It
public
is,
spaces. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Even in the Bay Area, it does feel a lot more like community. Whereas in LA, you need to seek that out and you need to find your people, and it could take a while. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
LA
just
has those people, but you got to find them.
yes,
But I'm glad.
exactly.
But it sounds like you found your crew,
Oh yeah.
and excellent. And you're also getting to see the world as a young person. I'm giving Regina a golf clap for seeing the world and wow, being part of World Kitchen. That's wow. You did
Yeah.
tell me that one of the times you picked up a trophy. I
Yeah.
definitely remember. I remember
It's like,
being
I'm so sorry I
impressed.
didn't make it, but or like I don't know what it was. Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Well, I feel like we've caught up. Or is there
Yes, it's been lovely to catch up.
should
Yes.
I throw the thing at you? Is there I mean, you mentioned Danielle. Are
I'll
there any
do
other
I'll
like
do one
frequent
I'll do one other
collaborators who
little
deserve?
tidbit.
Hmm?
Yeah, I would say that I just the first feature that I have co-produced is pre-selling on Apple, which is so exciting. Talking about feature world, this is something that we filmed right before the strikes last year. And yeah, we filmed this feature in 10 days and it was amazing. And that crew was also incredible. And it was amazing to work with the director, Bo Youngblood, who basically produced the entire thing by herself as well. And I'm just so happy and excited to learn from her as the co-producer with all the knowledge that she has and the badass that she is for producing and directing. And I feel like I'm so inspired by that. And I hope I can use that for my feature as well with all that knowledge. But yeah, the film is called In Flight. It has yeah, it takes place on a flight. It's a thriller, and I don't want to give anything away, so that's why I'm being vague. But yeah, I'd check it out and pre-save. Yeah, if you're
And you all
interested.
created a plane set, or you rented one of those like planes in a hangar, and
Yes, we shot at Aero Mock-ups in Van Nuys.
so cool.
Yes, it was fabulous. It was great.
It's actually a brilliant move because that makes it instantly cinematic and
Yes.
yet contained.
Yes, high production value too. People are always like, "Ooh, is that a real plane?" You know?
All
And
right,
so,
everybody, if you're
yeah.
listening to this, pre-order In Flight. Lord knows pre-orders matter a lot to indie films
Yep.
and good reviews too. So make sure you watch In Flight. I'm sure it'll be rentable on all the services that do VOD and whatnot.
Yeah. And we
I
have
assume it's that kind of
Tiffany.
rollout. For some reason, they're always VOD for 3 months
Yeah.
and then it hits streaming.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we have some really good casts. Tiffany Smith was in Guardians. We have Cristo Fernandez from Ted Lasso and Maria Russell from Jury Duty. So it was just awesome to work with those and all the other cast as well. So yeah, pre-save, pre-order, do all the things.
Bravo! So there you go, and you were a producer on it,
Yes, co-producer. Yes.
co-producer. So cool, excellent. All right, well, and we'll throw if you this podcast will probably go up in about a week. So
Okay.
if you get a link to like if there's a in-flight page, we can make that a clickable link,
Sounds
as
great.
well as reginapigsley.com. We can make these all
Yes.
clickable links in the show notes. That's when I sound like a real podcaster when I talk about show notes.
I love it. You are a real podcaster.
I know, I just don't feel like one. Although I believe you're probably going to be number 400. Well, your episodes will be I think 469.
Okay.
469 episodes. It's
That's
not bad.
amazing.
Not bad.
That's great. Oh my gosh.
Hey, I started in 2017 when I'm using this joke too often, but not everyone had a podcast in 2017.
No.
It's like since I started, like
You're the
now the
OG.
joke is who doesn't, name a white guy that doesn't have a podcast is the joke I hear. And I'm like,
Well, you're
yeah,
ethnically mixed.
I'm mixed, but also like I started because I had this microphone and
Lovely.
a good friend who wanted to do a podcast who sucked on the mic, and then I just was like, these Q&As at the theater are not long enough. We get like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And when I hand it off to questions from the audience, sometimes those questions don't please me. And I'm like, now the filmmaker has to answer a dumb question when we could have been talking about something truly interesting about their work. So I don't know. I just thought, all right, let's do a podcast.
Yeah. It's a great idea. Yeah. This has been so fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for doing it. Thank you for doing it. We finally did it.
We finally did it.
And
in this ether.
I'll-
Yeah.
I'll wrap us up. So thank you everyone for listening to the Discover Indie Film podcast. Regina Pigsley was on here. Like you heard at the beginning, her film The Phoenix and her film Matched both played at the festivals where I'm a festival runner. Excellent films. They're not released for you yet, but they will someday. So keep going to reginapigsley.com to check it out. Very exciting that Although I would say that the Phoenix did not need improved effects, but I get it, you're a perfectionist. So you were like, there was something that you got a little Lucas and Spielberg in you. You're like, I'm not done yet.
Yeah, not quite.
Something can look better to me. So go there. But by the way, please like and subscribe to the podcast. That's always helpful. If you want to learn more, go to discoverindiefilm.com. That's where you can learn about the podcast and the TV series that was born from it. On social media, it's always at DIF Wins. And there is, if you go to Amazon Prime Video, there is a TV series called Discover Indie Film. I don't know if there's going to be a new season or not. I rarely say that out loud, but Amazon's changed their ways. I did an all dance season, and they said, nah, we're not going to release all dance films. And my heart broke a little. And I was like, oh my God, I thought after 7 seasons I could do what I wanted with season 8. So anyway, but those 7 seasons are out there, and they used to be included with Prime. Now they're 99 cents an episode or $7.99 a season. But for $8, you get 10 30-plus minute episodes, each with 3 to 4 indie shorts from the festival circuit, like handpicked. So what can I say? I just talked about the series a little too long. Sherman Oaks Film Festival we hold every December. That is where we first showed The Phoenix in 2022. So if you want to learn more about that festival, go to ShermanOaksFF.com, and it's at ShermanOaksFF on social media. Every June we hold Film Invasion LA. Learn more at FilmInvasionLA.com, and it's at Film Invasion LA on social media. And I'm just going to pretend Film Invasion LA was the premiere of Regina's Film Matched. Someone else might have really gotten the premiere, but you know, I've learned from the world. I can just say what I want, and maybe it's true. Whatever. All right. No election. And the last thing to mention is, I know, right? The last thing to mention is the Indie Channel. Just like that TV series, the Indie Channel is another way to try to address getting indie films to audiences. So just go to indiechannel.tv or download the app on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, or Apple TV, and it's on your smartphone too. And I understand people do watch film on their smartphones, but oh man, please use a big screen. Sometimes I see our 17-year-old watching Netflix on her phone on the couch in front of the 52-inch TV, and I just I look at her and I'm like, you're doing this to hurt me. No, that's not what I think. But anyway, I know what it is. She doesn't want us to know what she's watching because she's got the AirPods in, and it's probably highly inappropriate. But that's okay. She can do what she wants. She's a good kid. All right. Regina, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Jeff. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And the podcast that releases after this one will be Regina answering the Discover Indie Film 4 questions about favorite films and whatnot. So that's a good one, too. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening.